so far it's just been about getting the platform up and running and sorting out all the bugs and stuff and have it working. And I think we've done that. Now the next step is going to be tackling the scaling part, which does require raising funds and that kind of stuff. How am I going to go about that? I don't know. We'll figure it out as we come. It's going to be about taking things gradually, like finding new customers, and then as we go, we'll see what happens.
So what is very particular to our current business is that we do a token sale, which is completely different from general, or I would say old-fashioned venture capital. So investors don't get equity; they only get a token. So instead of investing in the company, they invest in the technology. And we are strong believers that that is the future. It's a very luxurious position for investors to be because you can exit anytime because the token is liquid, right? You can exchange it. And it's excellent for the company or the people working on the technology because you don't have the burden of talking to your investors in the way that we do in equity terms. So it gives a lot of power, agility, and speed. And that is what we think you need in technology. And how we find them is actually, yeah, it's easy if you are in the blockchain space because there are all these funds. They're very keen to invest in tokens that actually solve a real world problem and that already have a working proof of concept, that have working technology, and that has an experienced team where, we're not building the next metaverse, but we're improving your food system today and yesterday. So that was for us, it was easy to find investors.
Actually, we started off bootstrapping all the way with a little bit of family funding and a small investment from an individual angel investor. We are actually in the process of securing a pre-seed round from a government program that supports startups. Since we are actually in the very early stages of market validation or the product market fit kind of phase, we haven't pitched to any, let's say, major venture capitalists yet. But what could be the sources of funding? And most of us have gone through that exercise, which is extremely critical for any startup founder. So initially, it's the family and friends, and obviously maybe an angel investor here and there. But yeah, the other sources could be equity financing, receiving funds from an outside source in exchange of share of your company. They may be investment firms, incubators, accelerators, online crowdfunding, those kind of sources. And then obviously there are government grants and loans. They may also connect you with approved lenders who can actually give you funding at a better rate since they are approved government programs. Then there are private investors and venture capitalists, which is a large part of investment comes from there, who provide capital in exchange of equity in the company, a place in the company's board, or a percentage of the company's future profits. Then there obviously are angel investors who are individuals who seek to invest in companies in exchange of equity.
Prefer to use LinkedIn because my profile is already public and they also have a public profile. So I look at both similarities. I look at for investors who truly have the same mission with me, with my organization. So it's easier for me to approach them. So I just send a cold message to them like, hey, look, this is what I do. Would you want to learn more? I can send you a one-pager. And from there, we can initiate a discourse.
Is not easy. There is a lot of investment capital out there, but actually getting to that investor that believes in you, your business, and aligns with everything that you have to say is not an easy task. I think what's important is to have as many conversations as you possibly can and take any no that you might get and spin that into a positive. People are ultimately betting on you at this phase of your specific startup. And it's important that not everyone is going to align with your specific brand, mission, business, industry, and so forth. So if people aren't interested in your business, don't get down on yourself, spin that into a positive and ask if they know anyone that might actually align nicely with your specific brand, product, or what you're trying to solve for, and continue to create that network effect so you can have as many conversations as possible.
We reach out to many investors that is potential customers for their feedback on LinkedIn, and we also talk about their investment process. We are open to investors who will be one of the team that will provide financial support after moral support in the first place, and will mention their line in accordance with our vision.
I like to put this example. If you are looking, an investor is like you are looking for your girlfriend or your marriage. You have to feel comfortable with their experience, their industry, like their network. They compromise. They involve time in your project. Their knowledge. It have to fit with the same vision as you, because if in the future you want to go to one direction and they are telling you no, I want to go that direction, remember that they are investors and they have the possibility to take decisions if they have writing votes on that. That's why from the first day that you marriage with an investor, if your mission is to grow with him, this is my advice. If you only want an investor to get the first round and then you have another investor for the next rounds, you don't gonna care about all of this. It's depending of which relation you want to build with this investor, and then you can decide.
We looked for investor was that we created a network of people with whom we created a win-win, who also want to do the similar things, and then they connected us with the people that they knew. So that was our strategy. I think the meaningful network and creating a win-win situation with a network of people, that was how we look for investors in the last round.
First, I mean, the first was probably at school or something. I remember many significant pitch decks, some pitches which have gone very well and some that which have not. I'll tell you one bit of advice or one story from one. It's like, don't, as tempted as you are, no matter how much you slapped or this or that, you might be tempted to drink an energy drink or two before a pitch. And I would advise against it. You know, you go from, 0 to sixth gear. I mean, it's like you get super wired and you tend to go through things very quickly. So I advise against the energy drinks before pitches.
I never developed pitch deck for this project. So it was just me one afternoon just being struck with an idea and just talking about it with friends, and it just went from there. No business plan, no pitch deck.
It was a disaster. The feedback that we got was it looked like a Reserve Bank of India report. It was so technical that the audience said, okay, it was so technical that we could not make much sense out of it. And 2 months down the line, when we changed the pitch and when we pitched to the same investors, they shortlisted among 80 people, they shortlisted 9 startups, and we were one of them. So that was, out of first pitch.
Initial investment presentation went smoothly. We didn't leave a question mark in mind as we reflected the points that we paid attention to in our presentation. What the investor wanted, I recommend learning effective presentation techniques to every entrepreneur.
I don't. And I actually think that's an important point, because a pitch deck is only a very small part of your whole pitch. The deck is only a small part. It is really the conversations that you're having. It is really, getting your whole team to understand and make the same pitch. That is much more important of this whole thing that is called pitching. So the deck, I don't remember because it's just a small part, right? And it iterates all the time. I mean, every day we have a new version. Yeah, it iterates all the time. And what I would recommend is everybody to read Pitch Anything. It's a book that I think it's very valuable because it's very true. And particularly if you are a tech company, we're pitching all the time how great our technology is. And often you don't really talk to your audience. So you just shoot your information, but it doesn't arrive. And you need to engage your pitch audience much more than you need to bring across how beautiful your technology is. So I would definitely recommend people to read that book.
For speech deck, it's really been long, So anytime I go through again, it makes me laugh. You see all the errors or the assumptions that we made initially, thinking that it's going to be this easy for us to get there. But it turns out to be that the reality would, of course, settle in over time. So yes, but it's all good. You review and see how far you've come. Again, it shows how much you've learned over the course of this journey. So being a startup founder can be really, really fun and interesting.
Took a lot of iterations for us to get to our final pitch deck for our investors. I think what's important at this phase of your company is to ultimately tell a really tight story. And that's advice that I give to early founders. Angel investors, strategic investors at a pre-seed round are ultimately investing in you as an entrepreneur. They're not investing in the company. They're definitely investing in the vision and making a sound investment on if they think it's a smart business model. But at the end of the day, they're also investing on the individual, and that individual can ultimately take something that might actually fail post MVP, but turn it into something different. And that's what's really important. You need to be a storyteller. You need to tell your story, the reason why you should actually be starting this company, why you're ripe for this market, and how you're actually going to take this company from a concept to production and scalability. I think that's what's really important. Tell that really tight story to your investors about yourself, concept, and vision for the future.
No, because I made so many pitch decks from this 6 years ago. But I can tell you that I remember from my first pitch deck that I didn't have any kind of idea how to start. And I just going to internet, checking templates, checking existing pitch decks, and I was changing the words of their company and putting my own words in Flap. And yeah, this is what I remember from my first days of building pitch decks.